Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it.
Hello, hello, hello. I am so glad to see you today. I am going to be with Mr. Gregory Ruffin. He is the founder and CEO of NEES Nonprofit Educational Economic Development Services. He is a nonprofit guru. If you are looking at trying to start a nonprofit, or you want to enhance your nonprofit, or you want to build a nonprofit, this is the young man to talk to. He grew up in a community that was self-contained. Everything that they needed was in their environment. And he's going to share with us his journey and his story, and how he lived and how he grew up has impacted his life today. I'm waiting for him to come on. In the meantime, I want to just thank you all for being here. And if you have any comments or things you want to share while I'm waiting for him to come, I'd be glad to talk to you about it. I'd like to also say Happy Father's Day to all fathers this weekend. May you have much love, much joy, much peace. And I know that I've shared this poem many, many times, but because it's Father's Day, I'd like to share it again. Father, provider, protector, role model for a son, the image of the man that will be the husband of your daughter when that time comes. What's best for your children should be concern number one, regardless of the obstacles a father must overcome. Sometimes the injustices of our society towards many of our fathers can make it hard to stand, but you gotta stand and be a man and a father to your children in every way you possibly can. Demonstrate their worth through you by the words that you say and the things that you do. Don't put your children down or call them out of their name. They may become whatever you claim. Lift them up to higher ground. Let their inner beauty be seen, be found. Show them and tell them how special they are. Be the light. Be the light. Be the light to take them far. Show them and tell them how much you really care, and let them know no matter what, you will always, in all ways, be there. Pray that our fathers will be guided by the light to lead their children in the ways that are right. And again, happy Father's Day to all the fathers and significant males that are participating in children's lives. I am so happy to introduce to you today my friend and my guest, Mr. Gregory Ruffin. Hello, Gregory. How are you today? And I want to say hi to my granddaughter, Malia and Aaliyah, my son, Miles, and his wife, Alicia. They created the video, the song to the video that I shared at the beginning of the show. So I want to thank them for taking the time to do that. So how are you, Gregory?
I'm well. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. I am
Good to be here.
Yes, I am so excited.
I'm excited too.
I briefly shared with the audience just a little bit about you, but what I want you to do is talk about how you grew up, what has prompted you to do the work that you do, what your purpose is, and how you impact lives.
Okay, so the first one you want to talk about, I'm gonna introduce myself.
Yes.
I am Gregory Ruffin. I am the founder as well as the CEO of NEES, which is nonprofit education economic development services, where we provide people that want to start and grow their nonprofit organization. We support you in that in terms of getting you started. We get your 501c3. We do your bylaws, art of incorporation. We also support you with webinar classes, all different things like that to help you start and grow your nonprofit organization. Um, a little bit about how I grew up. I grew up in a very well Black self-sufficient community where we practice all things common. And when I say all things common, that means that it was multiple families. It was probably 100 or more families there where we all our economics and resources, we put it all in one pot. And by us put it all in one pot, I mean that we didn't keep anything for ourselves in terms of individually, but we put it all our resources, money in one pot, and we bought land, we started businesses, we started organization, we bought houses as a collective group. So what that allowed us to do is, if one person prospered, all of us prosper. All of us live in a house. All of us had a business or worked a business. So we practice all things common. What I do today is I impact people's lives by one, like I said, I help people start and grow their nonprofit organization, but more so, I help people understand what economic freedom is. By starting your own business in terms of Black people doing for self, working for self, really practicing entrepreneurship, not just starting a business, but also um, growing that business, also owning, not just starting a business, but also owning that business. What I mean by owning, it meaning owning that building, owning your own land, owning your intellectual property, meaning doing for self, totally doing for self, where you're not dependent on anyone to eat and to feed and to live off of. So we practice literally all things common, meaning that most people consider our organization a cult simply because we had our own everything. We had our own school, we have our own house, we have our own cattle, we have over 100,000 acres of land. We literally did not depend on the outside world for anything. But at the same time, we did not have to worry about certain things that Black people have to worry about today in the United States, meaning talking about economic freedom, talking about police brutality. We didn't have to worry about those different things. We didn't have to worry about mass shooting. We didn't have to worry about the problems of the world simply because we created our own world by practicing economic freedom through the all thing common principle, which is in the Bible.
That's awesome. So by doing this, you were not exposed to much. I remember you having a conversation talking about almost like a cultural shock when you left that community and came on into your own elsewhere. But before we talk about that, I want to share with our audience this video to kind of capsulate what you just shared.
Out to change his church and rural community. He was armed with a vision and a prayer. His mission, secure economic opportunities through a working church and make life better for the entire community. Many people wondered, how could a common man accomplish such a difficult task? The answer was simple for the son of a lowly sharecropper. His vision and dream would become a reality through hard work, common sense, and a good business plan. This is a remarkable story of Bishop Luke Edwards, the insightful and innovative Pentecostal minister who founded Citizens for Research, Education, and Community Hope, Incorporated, or REACH. This is a modern-day parable of a working church. This video presentation will show you exactly what REACH has done under the leadership of Bishop Edwards and how he has given his church members a chance to pool their resources in order to improve their financial and spiritual condition through a lot of hard work and initiative.
All right. So kind of talk about what did that do for you being in that kind of environment, and how did it impact you when you moved out and into your own outside of that community?
How it impacted me. It impacted me in such a way. Um, to understand really what economic freedom really is. Because when you go out, you people say, okay, I'm starting a business, and people say, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, but they still never really experience economic freedom, because most likely they start that business. What they're going to do is they're going to go rent a building um, in like some type of shop. They're not going to own the building. If they go get a house, they're gonna most likely rent the house. They're not go but just buy the house straight up. So everything that attached to their freedom, what they say economic freedom is, someone can easily come in and take that away if that bank can go down, if that landlord decided that they want to do something else, or if either way. So what it really taught me about what real economic freedom is, and if you really do not control your economics, in America, then you really don't have a say so in terms of your conditions in America, because you can't really do anything. So that's so important that I really learned what real economic was. I really learned what independent was. I really learned what doing for self really looked like. Doing for self really looked like not depending on no one to feed you. If you and your people come together and that community come together, and you guys go out and y'all form that, you have to figure out a way or create that world and that space where you guys are totally independent from dependent on those people, where you're basically practicing all thing coming. All thing coming is not foreign. It's literally in the Bible. It's in Acts, where everybody that had whatever they had, they took their possession, they sold their possession so everybody could eat. So it also taught me the economic side, but it also taught me that if you practice all things coming the correct way, nobody in the community go hungry. Nobody in the community is poor, because simply we put everything into one pot so we all can eat.
That
So
is
it simply just taught me those basic common sense things and principle. If you put everything in one pot and we look out for the common good of everybody in the community, who's poor?
so. This
Who's
is much.
hungry?
Yes, absolutely. So would you say that this is much like what the Amish have done?
Right. So I would say yes, very much so, very much so. And most people don't know that the government will allow you to separate yourself from this world, which is, I go back into what I do about the 501c3, the nonprofit. The government will give you a 501d, which is a community of people. You don't necessarily have to be a religious organization. You can literally be any type of group that says, you know what, we're going to come together and we're going to put our lives, resources, and tools and wealth in one pot. If you, as long as you practice that principle right there, it doesn't matter what your belief is. It doesn't matter what you guys practice. As long as you guys say we're going to put our wealth and our resources and tools into one pot, they will separate you from the world where you're able to live and buy, and you don't have to pay taxes into their system, because you create your own world.
So how do you, because I know before the pandemic, you were doing these meetings
Hmm.
where you were talking about this concept. How do we get us to trust each other to create that kind of wealth among ourselves in our communities? How do we get to that?
I think we get there by educating about the language. I think about what we put out on a massive level in terms of on TV, on social media, because once it become normalized, because it's foreign to you when you talk to Black people now about giving up your selfish individual rights, that really does not put us ahead as a people. So the more we continue to have conversation on a bigger platform, and we normalize all things coming, I'm not saying don't have your individuality. At the same time, the goal is always a good man leave a heritage for his children. You cannot do that in America as an individual Black person. Only way you do that, you got to play the white man game. And at the end of the day, when you play his game, we're going to always lose in the end. Therefore, when you have the opportunity to come out and create a real world for yourself, the righteous way, the right way, because you have a community. So when you fall down and when you fall lack, guess what? You have somebody there now that can pick up for you and see after your kid when you long gone. And
Yeah.
that's what the community have done. People have died and gone on, but their children, they're still eating out the property. Their children still eating out the fruits, or their parents left 50 years ago, and the kids come back and they still fall right in place. So the all thing coming principle is so, I feel, if until black people, until us, until we practice the all thing coming principle, right, we will never get ahead. We have to, and I don't think common principle just corporate economics.
Corporate economics.
Corporate
Now,
economics. Let's just put it that way. A more, modern term. Corporate economic. You need a business. I need a business. Let's pull our resources together. Let's buy a business together, and let's keep duplicating that on a master level.
now I know that there are other communities outside of the one that you lived in Alabama that you are aware of. But first, let me ask you, how old is that community that you
It's
came
about
from?
60 some years old now,
Oh
or
my
more.
goodness.
Yes, it's pretty old. I'm third generation.
Third
Um, yeah,
generation.
and I have a nephew, so he'll be fourth generation. So it's like four generation our family that's been a part of that.
That is
So
awesome.
altogether, it probably like seven generations of families that's been a part of that. 6 to 7 generations of people, family.
And you're all benefiting from the wealth of the land.
Well, exactly, meaning that exactly. So don't get me wrong, the community had a lot of controversy because a lot of stuff like went crazy or went left, whatever, isolation. But the one thing you do learn is real economics. So you have all these people after these doctors, and you have all these major people after teaching about economics, and then you wonder why haven't really started communities to really help black people? Because the reality is they can't. You know why they can't? Because it does
Why?
not work if we does not work together. You have
Now,
all these black leaders in the community going to saying, and they're on topic, they're on what need to be done. But you ever ask yourself, you're not really even economically free. And we wonder why they can't do that, even though these black leaders with major platform. But their look at their look at their timeline of work. You don't see nothing. You don't see nothing where they have helped multiple families besides their own family, which most likely gave them a job. That's it. But ask them about land. Ask them about owning their own businesses and all that.
now, I know that there are a couple of communities here in Georgia, but there's some elsewhere that you're familiar with. So, can you kind of talk about those communities that you are aware of that have embraced this concept?
I don't know too many of them to be honest, right off. I know some of them similar, but I don't know none of them that did it extensive like we done and accomplished like we done. Like this people, we had thousands of families there.
Wow.
People with 20 kids. It wasn't normal. It was normal for people, parents up there to have 20 kids at a time.
Well, I have a video that kind of shows a little bit about what the benefits and what the businesses were about. So let me share.
Education and Community Hope Incorporated was established by Bishop Edwards for the simple purpose of providing a way for people to help themselves through self-reliance and individual initiative programs. Edwards believes the church is responsible for the poor, the homeless, and the unemployed. Reach has managed to give its members an opportunity to grow spiritually and financially through a highly profitable collection of businesses owned and operated by the nonprofit organization. Headquartered in Meridian, Mississippi, Bishop Edwards Christ Temple Church and Reach owns over 5,000 acres of prime farmland in Alabama and Mississippi, meatpacking plants in Mississippi, restaurants, motels, and housing developments in Alabama. The nonprofit group also operates an automotive and transportation division. Reach is most proud of its Holy Land facility, a home and educational complex for children and adults.
That is just amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, how do we change our mindset to understand that this is the way to prosperity? This is a way
Mm-hmm.
to building a legacy. This is a way to give the confidence and assurance that our children need. They need to be able to see this kind of work.
Totally agree. I think we do that by, like I said again, I really think we can't go back and change the past, meaning like if you just didn't grow up like that. But I think the more a lot of black people leaders are realizing that, okay, we tried it the way of what we think, doing it, but we're not getting anywhere. We're not getting anywhere simply because we're not practicing corporate economics. We're not putting our resources together. Do you have to think about it? If we're at a disadvantage, right, coming out of slavery, the only way we can get ahead based upon science and mathematics is coming together, becoming stronger. And how you become stronger is matching and pulling your economics together. So if you're not pulling your economics together with another black family or another black institution, it's just impossible based upon the institutions that are set in America that have been going on since the beginning of America.
Yes, and I want to
That's just
acknowledge.
impossible. Let's just look at it from an economic perspective. So, and that's the point we want them to understand. It's about the math. Let's take all our opinion out of it. Let's look at the facts. The facts of the matter is, I don't have enough, you don't have enough, she don't have enough, he don't have enough, but we put everything in one pot. Guess what? Now we all got enough.
We all have
So
enough.
that's just math. We got to. So if we just stick to the math, we stick to the logic, we stick to those different things like that, we can get ahead.
Okay, we have someone from North Korea that's listening, and he's saying this is cool what we're talking about, and he says it's nice. I can't pronounce. I don't want to mess up his name, so I'm not going to try to pronounce it. But thank you very much for being here and for listening to this show. Now, one of the things, like, for sure, once Reconstruction happened and after emancipation, there were Black communities that did this kind of
Hmm.
stuff.
Tulsa was one of those.
Tulsa was one of them. Rosewood was another. Eatonville was another, which still stands today. So when the government saw our potential to make wealth, to get wealth, then they destroyed it. So we must understand
Saying
our
that, and then
power.
when we created though, and I'm so glad you said that, because we can't just create these community no more without strategy. So meaning that it has to be consequences for those people that try to come in and do our community like that. So we just can't be those black people that say, "Oh, forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness." No, we have to also have strategy with what we're doing as well. And with that strategy, we have to be able to protect with what we create. We
Absolutely.
have
But
to.
how but I mean, let's look at it. Like the way Tulsa was burnt down, the way that they came in and did that. And I realized that was back in the 20s, 30s, or 40s. I can't remember. Well, it was 100 years ago. So, but my thing is, what could they have done? Let's do a scenario. You
Mhm.
got a community that's come together to do exactly the concept that you're mentioning. And how do we prevent? You said you got to have a plan, but when you see, like, what happened on January 6th, when you see them coming into the community just like that, and I can imagine that happening.
So I'm gonna ask you a question. You think if black people did that on January the
Oh,
6th?
we'd be dead.
So exactly. So
We'd
that's
be
all I'm gonna
dead.
say. So we have to
We'd be
protect
dead.
it as if it was just like if there was black people doing it. We have to be those same people that would have killed those black people when it come down to our own community. I'm not talking about protecting their community. I'm not protecting their institution that we just live in a community, but the money really do not benefit us because it does not benefit our health. The grocery stores, they don't put, them is not our business, them is not our community. When I say our community, when it's your community, everybody and everything that's in your community. And
Yes.
everything and everybody in your community benefits everybody in your community. So when we sort of create those communities, we got to protect those communities as if it was black people about to raid the capital.
I know that's right. Now, do you have any events that are coming up where you're talking about these things?
I do have events coming up. I'm putting a calendar together. Everybody coming outside from COVID, so we would just wait for everything to get back, not normal, but back in the conditions going to be going in where everybody come back outside, I guess. So we're gonna definitely have some events. I have an organization, but like I said, my main organization I focus on full time is needs, nonprofit, education, economic development services, simply because I show people and I help people how to start a nonprofit organization, especially Black people that want to start a nonprofit organization, because you can get a major tax break where you're not paying taxes. Most people don't understand that a lot of major corporations, how they don't pay taxes is simply because they're nonprofits. So it's about giving Black nonprofit that same game, so they are not paying taxes out, all these crazy taxes out, different things like that, especially if they're doing nonprofit work in the community. So that's my major focus. That's what I focus on. I have a production company now, which is GDR Production. We got some more projects coming out. And then, of course, I have another organization, which is Economic Freedom, where we talk more about things like this, about economic freedom, real economic freedom, where we're not just starting our own business, but we start our own communities, as well as we know the manufacturers, we know the jobs, we know the businesses in our community. We build a home in our community. We know the people that's patrolling our community. We know the police officer. The only way we can really be free from this system, we have to 100% control every part of our economics. And in America, that's every part of our everything, from the entertainment,
Education.
education, all of it tied in America, everything tied to some type of economic value. Therefore, we cannot leave that to nobody but ourselves to take care of.
Now, do you have a group that you're currently working with that someone, say for instance, someone is listening to this and they're saying, wow, I would really like to be a part of something like that. Do you?
I'm doing the classes. Before COVID, we was just starting the
Yes,
classes, so I'm gonna start those back. I think first it's about education. First, I think it's about that conversation, and like I said, normalizing it, and then also taking this kind of language to a massive scale. And I think with that, and when we see our conditions, and we tired of our condition, a lot of Black people gonna want to change. They're gonna want to do better, because you're gonna really see your condition. A lot of times we just don't see our condition. We think it's okay and it's all right. But like I said again, do you ever wonder, with all these Black leaders and Black doctors, how you seen them take any group of people and really economically free them? Any group of people. We
no,
haven't seen it. We just give a
no.
lot of talk and a lot of philosophy. We have
Now,
not
I,
seen no massive leader on that level yet, besides the Nation of Islam, that have economically freed Black people, just like compared to what our organization have done for a lot of Black families.
yes. And it's interesting that, you mentioned Islam. Now, I know that there have been some pastors. I know
Mhm.
there's a minister, R.B. Holmes in Florida, where he's taken and he's done that kind of concept within the congregation of his church.
Yep.
And they have like a whole block. Now, they don't, I'm not sure how much they've expanded since I saw him last, but, there was a strip mall where their parishioners could have their businesses all together, a restaurant, a
Mhm.
school, a
And
recreation
that and
center.
that's part of it too, though. That's really part of it too. You practice it on small level, practice it on the level that you understand it. And just like a child, when a child first come out, a baby can't do the same thing a toddler do, but it begins to grow. So that's also too. Take what you know and start practicing on that smaller level, in terms of with your family, with that, and then as you begin to grow, you're gonna want to practice it on those different in those major levels and different things like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want you to kind of share with us a little bit. You mentioned a couple other organizations, your production company. Can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit about that and what you're doing with that?
Okay, so with GDR production, we started in the pandemic. So we GDR Production is really a nonprofit organization, and it's a nonprofit organization where we teach youth about production, meaning owning their rights to their content. We promote owning your stuff. We promote not giving your stuff um, away, because most people say, "Oh, I want to create a project and take the TBS and CBS and different things like that." Like, we want to change that mindset where you can grow your own production company, like Tyler Perry did. Because think about all the actors that was in Hollywood, A-list celebrity actors. They never had, even though they became A-list, they became big. None of them never freed the amount of people economically like Tyler Perry did in terms of giving them jobs and opportunity, simply because Tyler Perry decided to do for self. He decided not to sell his stuff off. So it's about GDR Production is about promoting, taking youth in the community and that want to get into media and making sure they understand, don't sell your content. What it means to how, give them the tools and resources on how to start a production company. Don't have the mindset to sell your stuff out. Have the mindset to grow your production company. Have the mindset of keeping the rights to your stuff, because we see all the time with these people. I put it like this: if TBS or CBS or NBC willing to give you $1 million for your project, that ought to let you know that they're gonna make triple that, 100 times more than that for your project. So if they're willing to give you $1 million, you should understand that. Guess what? If they're willing to give you $1 million, I can guarantee they're gonna make over 100 million off what you're doing. So why would you take that same formula they trying to use, learn the sauce, and you do it yourself, where you can benefit for your family and your children? So that's what GDR Production is about. It's about creating content, entertainment, and education. But also on the other side, we also want to educate the youth about what it means to keep your stuff. Don't go off and sell your stuff. Oh, I'm on YouTube now, but my goal is to one day sell it to a network. No. Why don't you create your own Netflix? Why don't you create your own network?
So where
So
are
that
you
is
at?
what GDR Production is about.
Okay, and where are you at in that process right now?
I'm at the beginning stage of just creating an audience, and once I have a 5-year plan. So after my 5-year plan, we're gonna create our own streaming service platform.
Awesome. When I first met you, I knew this young man, he's got a lot going on. We met shortly after I moved here.
Movie, yep,
And,
yep.
and
Been in touch, working together ever since.
yes, because I admire what you're doing and I know I can learn from you. And I'm looking forward to learning from you.
Yes, man. It's always a great opportunity when we link up and work together. So I'm always excited.
Yes. And I want you to, you mentioned another entity that you're involved in.
So, economic freedom. Economic freedom is an organization where I talk about economics in terms of real economic freedom, not just entrepreneurship, but also economic freedom where we're actually where we're buying land and we're creating our own independence on that land, community, houses, businesses, manufacturers, all of that. So economic freedom is an organization that promotes and educate about real economic freedom, where we are totally separated and we're not dependent on any type of assistance from the world. We can totally feed ourselves, have ourselves, and economically we can entertain ourselves, and not just on the level of just we're barely making it, but also on the level where we're being prospered in, where we're living in gracious homes, beautiful homes, and stuff like that. Because you're gonna, just like China do, just like other countries do, you're gonna do deals. You're gonna make deals with these different type of other races and different type of other group of people that are gonna grow our wealth. So we're not, we want to be separated as a people because we want to live how we need to live, and not be worried about being bothered. At the same time, we want to also learn business international, where we're also creating products and services where we're able to sell to different other races, different other groups of people, other lifestyle, other countries, and different things like that. So guess what? So the same business sense that they do international America, we want to do the same thing once we separate and we become our own independent entity.
So, having grown up in that environment, tell me, what was your experience like when you left there? Can you share some stories about how you felt, and how, having lived in that kind of environment, um, made you see the world and things differently?
So, okay, so coming here in, I guess, what people call society, it was just very like disheartening that the story was you had to get a job. They pay you pennies on a dollar. You take that, you go home, try to feed yourself, try to take care of yourself. So you basically maintaining another person's vision, because every business, people don't realize, every business you work, you got to remember that's somebody's dream. They had a dream. They said, I want to start a business while I'm feeding people. But it was more so that dream more was about to change their economic level so they can have economic freedom. So that just didn't sit right well with me. So me even coming out here and seeing the condition of black people where they were so invested into another man's dream that what they want to even try to create something for themselves economically, a business. Like, what do you want to do? And that's why when I'm always talking to people, I always say, like, what do you want to do? Like, what's your dream? What's your passion? Because you working a job for someone, first of all, let's even get into that. You're working a job for someone and you don't even know what the ultimate money, what that money go to. You're supporting a business that probably do not even see you as a human being. That corporation probably have a timeline of, if you go back in the history, they probably have a whole timeline of having slavery and still believe in slavery. They probably got their whole business off slavery, off robbing black people, off the incarceration of black people. So we when we most likely go to the corporation, we don't know who the founder is, we don't know who the CEO is, we don't know anything about them. We go there most likely because we need, which, I understand, we need to change. You need a job to take care of yourself. So my thing was that, okay, so you telling me you're going to work a job for the rest of your life? Because if he giving you $30 to stay there an hour, imagine what he taking home. That's just how I always think. So it was
Absolutely.
just really heavy to see the conditioned mindset of black people where we, most of them didn't want to dream. Not even say want to dream. I'm gonna take dream away. They didn't want to do for self. Because if you ask everybody, and they really be honest, we all see something else bigger than what we're doing for ourselves ultimately. But you got to put that work in.
And one of the issues is, I know I grew up in an environment where we didn't see a lot of, can you hear me okay?
I hear you well.
Okay. Where we didn't see a lot of black entrepreneurs and things of that nature, to the extent that they exist, like in Atlanta or in Los Angeles or in other, St. Louis and other types of, and other cities. So what are you doing right now?
My bad. I had to see something. My other thing was missing. I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
listening though. I was listening.
Okay. And so a lot of times, we as black, especially young kids, if you don't see representation of
Mm-hmm.
what you're talking about, then it makes it hard to envision that you can yourself do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I need you to put your headset on, because, and so we can't we can't blame our condition when we haven't seen something different. But when we've seen something different, then we can begin to look at what it is that we need to do. It wasn't until I moved to Los Angeles and I saw a black mayor. I saw Jesse Jackson. I saw Maxine Waters. I saw all these businesses and people doing things in Los Angeles. And I came back home. It's like, wow, this is stuff that we never saw. And I mean, we had like maybe one dentist, one black doctor, but when you see a conglomerate of these things, then it helps you to recognize, well, I can do that too. having maybe one black teacher in a school. I mean, these are the kinds of things that I grew up with. So it makes it kind of hard to understand that there's something beyond this when you haven't experienced it. And that's why I encourage young people to get out there, experience other things, see other cities, understand that there's more than what we see oftentimes in our own environments.
Hmm. Totally agree. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I totally agree. I totally agree. But I think we got to take the exposure to the next level because we see even entrepreneurship and black mayors and all that is still not enough for us. Because once again, if you're not controlling your economics, if you're not controlling your community, it doesn't matter. It doesn't stop the police coming in and feeling like they can kill us. The institution of what they represent, not more about the individual. It's the institution what the police mob represent, right? Um, that they feel that based off history, they can kill a black person and know they can get away with it. But when you
And
control your community, that it doesn't go like that.
so, in your community that you grew up in, tell me about law enforcement. Tell me about um, how all of that works.
The men, the for the most part, the men, which was the deacons, not all the men, but they have in the church world, you have what you call deacons. The deacons was the head law enforcement. From there, you had what you call adults. So the adults can also, enforce the law and uphold it as well as if you need to be disciplined as well with that. So it was just the adults in the church, the people
And
in
you
the
know
church.
what? And it takes a village. So that's the concept. It takes a village. Growing up, any adult could chastise somebody else's child. But that
Right.
concept is even gone. We don't,
Mm-hmm.
you'll get parents saying, this is not your child, or you'll even get a kid saying, you're not my mother. You can't tell me what to do. And growing up, that was unheard of.
That was foreign.
And so let me ask you this. So in your community, so any outside forces, they never even came in. They
No. Not for like discipline. Only like if a law enforcement came in, that means the head people call them in. But no, not for that type of stuff. No,
What was crime like in that community?
there was no crime. No crime.
And see, and I asked that question
We didn't know
because
what crime was till we watched TV. When we was allowed to watch certain shows on TV, we didn't know what crime was until we watched certain TV. So that's how we learned concepts of crime, murder. Because just there, you don't know about stuff like that. Because you basically in a bubble. So we learned a lot of our stuff, education, what people would call about social stuff, about sneaking watching TV or the stuff they did allow us to watch.
can you imagine? Can you imagine a community where crime doesn't exist? Can you imagine? We can't imagine because it does exist.
It does
It,
exist.
it
Yeah, it
does
obviously
exist.
it does because it was in the beginning of time, crime didn't exist. So it lets you know that it's possible. It's just based up on a lot of stuff we created, the world we created. When I say we, I mean as human being created. It is part of it. But when we get back to the core of what community is, and we get back to the core of family and love and all of that, you don't have a place of crime and all of that.
So let me ask you, if someone is interested in exploring having a nonprofit,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the steps that they should take?
So the first thing I would tell them now with a lot of people, because a lot of people, first thing they say 501(c)(3) this and thing. My first thing I would tell you if you're looking to start a nonprofit organization, identify your mission. First thing, because most of the time, most people not even clear about their mission. I think I want to help the homeless. I think I want to do this. No, be very clear about your mission, because when you clear about your vision, you clear about your mission, you can move forward. The next thing you need to do is you need to have a team of people. You cannot run an organization by yourself. You cannot run an organization by yourself. I'm gonna say it again. You cannot run an organization by yourself. Get you a board of directors. Board of directors are people that help you run and uphold and keep the organization in a perfect standard, as well as to grow the organization. That would be the first step. I would say first identify your mission. Get people that support you. Do not get family, do not get friends just because, oh, I'm gonna just put you on the board. If you do it like that, most likely that's how your organization gonna look. There'll be nowhere to be found. So if you want to start an organization, before I get into 501c3, before I get into bylaws, before I get into article incorporation, before I get into donation labs, before I get into policies and procedures, and before I get into funding, grants, products, and services, first thing I deal with them is like, okay, like what do you have going on? Tell me your mission. Because when you clear about your mission, even though you're not clear about how the mission going to get accomplished, you can move forward because you clear about, no, this is not what I. So when another person come up to you and say this or want to get on board, and you ask them about what's their idea, you'll know right then and there, no, that's not my mission. So therefore, though, this probably not be the best opportunity for you. So I would tell somebody, be clear about your mission, because when you be clear about your mission, you'll be clear about the type of people you want to work with. You'll be clear about the type of people that you want on your board. Because once you get the people on your board, you must understand this. Therefore, they have the same rights as you, and they can vote you out your organization because you're the founder and you on the board. You can still get voted out. So you got to make sure that the people understand your mission, understand your vision, and making sure that they align with what you're doing to enhance what you're doing. That would be the first two steps that I would give out right away.
And in terms of your board, definitely look at people that can enhance your organization. You might want to have an attorney on your board.
Exactly. A
You might want to
doctor. If
have
you
an
are
accountant.
Yeah, if you're a health organization, you need it might be great to have a health doctor, physician. Exactly. So exactly whatever field you want to go in, if you want to go into a law organization, it common sense say you need to have a lawyer on your board somehow. And those people also, remember, your board members must assume the same amount of responsibility as you,
Exactly.
meaning that it is their job to raise money just like it's your job. It's their job to make sure the organization is up and going, and the means and stuff is being held and upheld the same way as yours. So it's so important that we get the basic, because when you get the basic and when you get the foundation, everything else is okay, because you realize that's not what I'm looking for. That's not where I'm
Right.
going. So that would be
Exactly.
the first. Understand your vision. Because most people, honestly, that I talk to, they do not be clear about their mission. And it prolongs the process. Because I'm be pulling like, what is your vision? What is your mission? Like, be clear about that. So we be so clear about it. When someone asks you about it, you can just tell them without looking at paper, without saying, oh yeah, we do that too. Oh yeah, we do that too. No, it should be no. What do needs do? We help people, we support people that want to start and grow a nonprofit. That's our basis foundation.
And that's basically what you do.
Yeah,
And
help people.
so having a vision and having a mission helps you not only to understand what it is you're doing, but it helps you to stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. That is so after that, we all need that no matter what business we in. Once you stay in your lane, you do not have, and this is what I discovered too. When you stay in your lane, we do not have these thoughts of complacement. I'm not good enough. The depression of and competition, whatever, because you simply stay in your lane. When you stay in your lane and you do what you're supposed to do and you need to do, you really, really live a peaceful life.
And you collaborate with those that do the things that you need that you
Yeah,
may not be an
yeah,
expert in.
yeah. And I tell people all the time, and I say all the time to people, this to people all the time. You can't get mad. It's crazy for you to look at another man's works and you want to benefit from it. Because if you really think
Say that
about,
again. Say that again.
it is crazy for you to look at another man's work and you want to get the benefit of it. So when you look at another man's work, you look at the prosperity of their work, and you say, "I wish that was me." You're basically saying, you're basically becoming a thief. You're looking at another man's work and you want the benefit of it. That's not you. You didn't put the work in. So if you didn't put the work in, you shouldn't be doing nothing but congratulating that because you did not put the work in. Then if you looking like that makes you a thief because you're looking to get the benefit of somebody else's work. Even if they is your friend, that ain't your work. Even if they
And
did change up on you, that ain't your work. They put that work in. They don't have to share that with you. And I remember that. So, and I say that because sometimes we get on social media and we see what another person got going on, what they got going on, how they got going on. Oh, they living the fruits out their thing because they put the work in. If they didn't put the work in, it's gonna show. Time will tell. So stay in your lane as well as do, as well as do not want the benefits of another man's work because that's basically stealing.
amen. Now, I want to also get back to the advisory board because another thing, you might want to have a PR person.
Yes,
So,
oh, I'm so glad you said that. That will your PR and marketing person. I tell people with this, starting a nonprofit is just like starting a business. If you roll out a business today, you're gonna most likely, if you got the budget, you're gonna hire a PR person. If you roll out a nonprofit, same thing. You need a marketing and a PR person. The same thing a person do when what the first thing they do if they don't have a PR person, right? What they do? They go out, you open up a restaurant, you put a flyer on everybody's car, everybody know we the new restaurant in town. So when people start a nonprofit, they hear the word nonprofit and they get unmotivated or they don't understand it. And I tell them all the time, a nonprofit is still a business. You can still
yeah,
make money. You just have to know the rules of the game. That's it. That's what
yeah,
major corporations do all the time. Why you think most wealthy people have nonprofits? That's not a coincidence. Those are major tax breaks.
absolutely. And so, listening audience, we're sharing this information to kind of give you a nugget, to give you an idea of what we can do collectively to build wealth, to establish a legacy, and to promote each other. That is so important.
So important. And like you said again, with the nonprofit thing, it's a business. Remember that. If you remember nothing else, a nonprofit is still a business. Therefore, everything your for profit. I'm give you this analogy. If you go open up a business, a salon today, and that's your baby, you're gonna be in your baby every day, making sure that that money is coming in because that money gonna affect your lifestyle and change your lifestyle. So if you have a nonprofit and you only working on Mondays, guess what? Your organization gonna only look like a Monday organization. If you open up a nonprofit, you need to run it just every day, just like if you open up a business, because it's still a business. It's still a business. Look at Salvation Army. Look at Goodwill. Look at the Girl Scout, the Girl Scout, the Boy Scout, all these major things. They're open just like a regular business, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. You need to have that same mindset when you start your nonprofit. If you do not do that, you're gonna lack and you're gonna fall, and you'll never see your organization grow to the capacity of the great organization or even further.
Nothing worth having comes easy.
No, it's work. It's just like
And
it's a for-profit business, just like it. You got to work it every day. Get up, get to that salon. You're gonna get to that salon on time. You're gonna make sure those people there on time. You're gonna do the work. That same concept and that same work for your nonprofit. Create a product and a service so you can you can sort generate money to come in where you're not dependent on donations.
let's talk about that for a minute because where nonprofits are concerned, there are so many things as a nonprofit that you can benefit from.
Mhm.
So I want you to just kind of do an overview of that kind of stuff. When looking for money, a lot of nonprofits will rely on grants
Grants,
alone.
no, and that's so crazy because As a nonprofit, you can create yourself a thrift store to generate funds where you give people jobs, create resources for you to you take care of yourself. You can create a product and a service. So my philosophy, not my philosophy, my when I educate my people about nonprofit, I tell them use your grant money as a surplus. Because what happens if you get that grant money and they decide to take that grant from you because they feel like what your mission is no longer aligned with what their mission with what they want to be aligned with. Now you was receiving $1 million grant every year to take care of your expenses. What you gonna do now?
And I experienced that. I worked
Yeah,
in
so and I exactly so
I was the
and I say
director.
all the time, grants to me are is just like food stamp to the poor. It's free money and it's free resources. But if you do not use it, and if they when they cut you off and you don't know how to feed yourself and or create money to feed yourself or grow your own food, you gotta starve. Same way with nonprofit, it's free money.
But that money is also designated money. So
Right.
people need to understand that when you get grant dollars, you can't just take that money and use it for this and that or whatever. Whatever you wrote that grant for is what you need to use that money for.
Money for it. I totally agree.
And
But
and there are
I was
two,
answering the overall question of just, you know, grants period. To me,
yeah,
grants, I'm not anti grants, but I just don't think they're sufficient for today's time. Simply because what happens when they no longer want to support you? Businesses do it all the
exactly.
time. The government cut people all the time. When the economy went, think about when COVID hit. A lot of people had lost a lot of resources in nonprofit. So we, as in the nonprofit sector, you gotta take control from the beginning. Taking the control from the beginning is simply creating yourself a product and a service. So when something happened, guess what? My organization mission can still go on. That is the
Yeah,
most important thing to me because I love to see people that self-sufficient simply because the type of organization I come from. I come from a self-sufficient place. I enjoy, I thrive on, I learn from people that can still be self-sufficient no matter if those people that support you, that say they're gonna support you, no longer can support you. Very important that you understand that. If
yes.
you take anything away from that, tell nonprofit my best advice: create yourself a service and a product because that will
Create
take you
a
a long way.
service and a product. I want to say hi to Felicia. And she said, yes, we have to do the work as if, or even harder than if we were at a job. Our business is our responsibility to build and put in the work. CEO vibes. Actually, absolutely, absolutely. And she says, I totally agree. Great information. Thanks for sharing. And this time went by a lot quicker than I
It did.
anticipated.
It
And
was good.
I just want my audience to know that this is the nonprofit guru. I call you that.
Yeah, I seen a post.
The nonprofit guru. But not only is he a nonprofit guru, this man grew up in a self sustaining, all Black community where there was no crime. And
Hmm.
it is based on right now, there's like 4 generations of legacy behind where he lived. And now he wants to teach others how to pool their monies together to do the same kind of thing
Yeah,
throughout.
and one thing that we're doing, my organization, we're about to purchase a massive part of land. So in our based up in our not bylaw but in our curriculum, the first step we believe is first securing the land. And why first thing we're going to do, I'm going to be securing land first. From there, growing food. After we able to grow food to feed people and create more generation and more generate more money, we're going to start buying more land to create communities and stuff like that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let me put your information back up here again. We've got less than a minute. Um,
Thank you for
please get
having
it.
me, all Miss Vera. Thank you so
Well,
much for having me.
well, thank you. I believe so much in what you're doing. I want to be a part of what you're doing, and I just want all of us understand that if we come together and do things together, then everybody benefits, everybody
Everybody.
profits.
You can't ain't no such thing as poor if everybody is we all pulling our resources together.
Yes. And Felicia says, can we get Ion purchasing in on push? I hear you. I'm asking the same question. Can we get in on
We
purchasing the
yeah,
land?
yeah. It's gonna be on my Facebook. So you don't follow me on Facebook. My it's Gregory Ruffin, and I'll share all my information on there. Like I said, I'm gonna be doing more classes. It's gonna be part of the organization. I also have you can follow my Facebook page, which like my Facebook page, Economic Freedom, on Facebook. The Economic Freedom Project, and all the information about the purchase of the land is going to be there. But that's our first step, because I totally believe the first thing is secure the land. Once we
I
do that,
agree.
all of that will, fall in place and turn to business and stuff.
Well, listen, we ran out of time. I
Hmm.
want you to come back. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I say to our listening audience, thank you for listening. And we are about to go off. I'm going to end with my promo that my grandchildren, my son, and his wife created this promo for me. And so I'm going to end with it. God bless, and you have a great evening.
Thank you.
The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.